Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So I have been tagged in the Try a Story tag, which was adapted by Jen Campbell from the original Try a Chapter tag. I have 5 short stories here that I have carefully picked out for this video. I'm going to read the first short story in all of them, give you my thoughts and feelings, and then pick one to actually read and complete. I've really thought about these short stories. I do read a lot of short story collections and I've tried to find authors that I've never read anything from before. I wanted to find short stories that you might not have heard of or haven't really been talked a lot about on BookTube. I've also tried really hard to pick as many different genres of short story collections as I can. That's slightly more difficult obviously because a lot of short story collections encompass variation of genres, but I've tried my best to sort of find ones that, you know, are a little bit different and a bit more diverse. So the first one that I've decided to read is No One Belongs Here More Than You, Stories by Miranda July. Things I've heard about this are quite good. This is my sort of women's voice pick for the short stories, trying to be a little bit more diverse in my choosings. I'm going to go off and read the first short story and give you my thoughts and feelings. Okay, so super short first story. It's called The Shared Patio, and essentially it's about a lady who sexually fantasises about a married man who lives underneath her, and they're on the shared patio, and he has epilepsy, he has an epileptic fit, and she falls asleep on him instead of helping him and has a sexual fantasy about him. The protagonist, I suppose, of this short story works for a leaflet manufacturer who makes HIV positive leaflets, and they're called Positive, and there's a little bit right at the end, this is not a spoiler of the short story, but there's little bits, little excerpts, and it's just a really nice optimistic way to end the short story. Do you have doubts about life? Are you unsure if it is worth the trouble? Look at the sky. That is for you. Look at each person's face as you pass them on the street. Those faces are for you. And the street itself, and the ground under the street, and the ball of fire underneath the ground, all of these things are for you. They are as much for you as they are for other people. Remember this when you wake up in the morning and think you have nothing. Stand up and face the east. Now praise the sky and praise the light within each person under the sky. It's okay to be unsure, but praise, praise, praise. I really like that. That was quite a nice opening. Definitely a little bit odd, don't get me wrong, but quite a nice powerful female voice there. So on to the next. The next one was actually a present from one of my friends, and he thought that I would really enjoy it, and it's been in my collection for a few months now and I haven't picked it up, and that's Lightbox by KG Orr. I haven't really heard much about this. It's a really beautiful cover. I really like it, and it's got French flaps and the end papers are all the constellations, which is really nice. From what I can gather, this is a sort of travelling style short story collection. It says from Argentina to Siberia, Papua New Guinea to London and New York, Lightbox explores lives in transition in a world where boundaries and human relationships are shifting. So sounds pretty interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and read the first story in this. So the first short story in this is called The Lakeshore Limited. It's about 20 pages long. Didn't particularly enjoy that, unfortunately. It's set on a train, on a sleeper train, and there is a male character and sort of a typical annoying passenger that keeps talking to him, and he really doesn't want to have to deal with it, and she won't stop, and they end up sitting next to each other on this sleeper train, so obviously they have to eat their food together and then they go to sleep together in the same place, and it's really uncomfortable. But he was just a bit of a dick to her, to be honest. Like, she was trying to make conversation and it was obvious that she wanted a friend and he was having nothing to do with it. As it sort of moves through, you realise that it seems like his wife was in hospital. The writing style of this was very beautiful. It was very fluid and it moved through scenes very quickly, so you had to sort of really keep a close eye on what was happening, otherwise you'd lose track of where you were in the story, which I think is sort of the point of this style of writing. The ending was quite good. I don't really want to spoil anything, but it sort of explains more why he's not a very talkative person on this train. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. If any of you have read this or have heard anything about it, do let me know down below. I'd be really intrigued because that wasn't brilliant. I'm not sure how I feel about that one at the moment. I'm super excited to have this, by the way, and this is Children of the New World, stories by Alexander Weinstein. I saw this on Jen Campbell's channel and it's not being published in the UK for the foreseeable future, and it sounded incredible and she absolutely raved about it, and I had to request it and they very kindly sent it to me. This is sort of like a sci-fi collection, but it's what the world could be like with technology and robots and things, and it sounds really interesting. It would fit nicely into sort of a modern technology sci-fi genre that I don't really read in short stories, so yeah, I'll let you know how I get on with the first short story in this. Okay, wow, right, good, I enjoyed that one. So the first story in this is called Saying Goodbye to Yang. It's about a family who's sitting around having breakfast. There's the mom, the dad and the sister, and they have a robot as a son and Mika has it as her brother, and he just starts slamming his head into the Cheerios, and he's obviously got some sort of technical fault. So the young girl is rushed away because obviously it's quite disturbing for her, as, you know, he's part of the family, and the dad has to take his back panel out and he just breaks down. He loses control of him and he stops working, and the man's worried about what to do. He goes and talks to his next door neighbour who's got 2 identical robot twins that he has, and they're just, you know, we have to just accept it straight away, which is really great. I love that sort of thing. And they take him to try and get him fixed, and they can't get him fixed, and they have to bury him, and it's really odd. And oh, that was so good. I really enjoyed that. Straight away we just have to accept that Yang is one of the family. He keeps spouting off random facts and things, but he has his own bedroom and he has an allowance, he's got pocket money, and he lives a normal human life, except he's just a robot that's supposed to look like a human, and it's a bit strange. It's that uncanny valley type thing that freaks me out, and I imagine freaks a lot of people out, so that was really interesting to read. I absolutely loved that one. I really want to read this now. I want to just devour the whole collection now. The next short story collection that I picked up is one that you would have seen in my Edinburgh vlog and haul, and that's Children's Children by Jan Carson. This is representing the magical realism type short story collection that I'm most familiar with when I was trying to pick things from sort of a varied genre. Looking forward to getting to this one now. I'll go and have a read and let you know. Okay, that was odd. That's not what I expected from this collection at all. So the first short story in here is called Larger Ladies, and when I saw that I was a bit like, oh god, oh god, oh no, not gonna be good. The concept is that So the concept of this is that overweight women, usually from a rich background or in a rich relationship, are being sent or applying to go to this clinic where they are supposed to lose weight, and they have to sign some sort of agreement that promises that they're not going to sue if they get hurt, and there's a possibility they could die from the treatment. And the women essentially are put into hospital beds, sedated for I think 6 months, and their beds on every 3-hour shift wobble uncontrollably, and that is supposed to burn and wobble the fat away without them actually using any sort of muscular usage. It's very strange. They don't eat, they're constantly sedated, so every day they get another bunch of sedatives brought round to them, but that's the sort of only thing that they have to make them lose weight. Obviously they're not eating, so therefore they're starving by principle. But they have this like wobbling, vibrating thing on the beds. It's very strange. And it's told from the perspective of the lady that works the night shift there, and because she's got no one to look after her son has to come as well, and he's only I think 4, 5 or 6, very young, and he's got to witness this. So the mom tells him that these women are mermaids and they've been beached and they've been tired of swimming the oceans for years and years and years, and they don't look like the Little Mermaid that's on his DVD. And you know, they're old and they're tired, so they've come here to relax and to enjoy themselves, and it's all very odd. It was realistic in the sense that like it didn't feel necessarily like a magical realism type thing. I don't know if this sort of thing exists. I'm assuming it doesn't. You can't sedate someone for that long. It's really messed with me. The doctors hoped that they'd put the weight back on so they could come back, because these people were so rich that they'd just give them loads and loads of money in order to do it all again. I mean, that's probably saying quite a lot about the weight loss industry. Wow, actually that's really good. And finally is something a little bit different, I hope, and that is The Moth. This is a true story, and this is 50 Extraordinary True Stories. So this is a short story collection of non-fiction stories. And The Moth, when I showed this in a haul a couple of months ago, some people told me all about what The Moth was. I will go away and read the first one. I've no idea what to expect. I haven't read any of the blurb. I'm just going to go into this completely blind and see what story is first. So the first short story is actually by a lady called Jana Levin, and it's called Life on a Mobile Strip, which is that idea that if in time is like linear, and if you keep going along one end, eventually you'll come round to the other. Like if you travel around the world, eventually you'll end up in exactly the same place. So it was about this lady, Jana Levin, and her job as an astrophysicist and working on this Mobius strip problem, and she meets a man who is totally wrong for her, so inevitably she says she falls in love with him, and they're in a relationship. He's not particularly well educated, but he's very enthusiastic and full of life, and she's quite the opposite way around, so they're sort of like opposites attract style thing. And they break up and get back together, and it's very interesting. It reads like a very romantic movie plot, but actually the way it's written is very sarcastic, dry humour, all the things I love. This really intrigues me. It's not something that I want to pick up right now. I think this is something to sort of read on and off every now and again, just pick up a non-fiction sort of story when I feel like it, but I did enjoy that for what it was. I think these two are tied. I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to read this one first because I haven't heard much about it and I'd quite like to get a review out there if people are interested. Probably also going to read this one as well because from that story I know that I'm going to love it and it's so interesting. If you've read any of these short story collections or are interested in anything, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. And I'm not going to tag anybody specifically, but if you watch this video and you'd really like to try some short story collections out, then do this video. I tag you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a lovely week, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye!